Hi everyone, it is Sue with Retiring to France on a Shoestring again, and today I'm going to be talking about the second part of my journey to France in February of 2025, which is a scouting trip in advance of me moving to France later in the year. In the last video, I talked about the first leg of the trip, which is arriving in Paris and picking up a rent car and then driving to Dijon. And then the plan is to spend the next day exploring Dijon and the surrounds and then driving to Lyon. Once we get into Lyon, if we've got some extra time, do a little bit of some exploring, but kind of the plan is going to be that we're going to get up in the morning and explore the city that we're in, then get in the car and drive to the next destination, stopping along the way at anything that strikes our fancy, whether that be a small town or a vineyard or a castle or who knows what, right? So that's kind of the plan, to stay overnight, have dinner, wake up in the morning and have breakfast at a fantastic boulangerie or someplace close by, do the touristy thing and look around and see what we can come up with, and then get in the car and travel to our next destination, and then basically lather, rinse, and repeat pretty much almost every day that we're going to be in France. And it's a 2-week trip. I think it's 15 days in total. The last video talked about the Paris to Dijon, Dijon to Lyon, and Lyon to Grenoble section, the first 2 days. So on this day, after we explore Grenoble and the environs, we're going to get in the car and travel down to Avignon and spend a lot of the day celebrating that city. And I'm really excited, especially to be in this part of the country, because there are so many ancient ruins or very, very old buildings, churches, and as we get further south, a lot more Roman ruins. So I think that it's going to be a fantastic day on the road, even though it is going to be kind of a long day. And then after we leave Avignon, we are going to be traveling down to the Marseille region. We're not going to be staying in Marseille proper. What I chose to do is to find a cute little bungalow on the beach in Sarlat-sur-Mer, which is a little bit east of Marseille, and it's closer to Toulon. So this adorable little beach town will be our home base for 2 nights. And after relaxing that first night, we'll be able to get up and explore Toulon and the region first thing in the morning. And then we have a busy day planned again as well. We're going to be heading into Marseille and probably spend most of the day there, but then also making enough time to be able to go up into Aix-en-Provence and some of the neighboring villages in that area. Provence is an area I am interested in possibly moving to, so I do want to try to take as much time as I can, although it is limited, to be able to explore and see what options there are in store. After our second night there, we will have another long day of travel, but a lot of exciting things to see. We will leave Sarlat-sur-Mer and then head directly northwest through or around Marseille up into Nimes. And I'm very excited about going to this town and a lot of the surrounding villages because there are a lot of Roman ruins in this area. And also, of course, ancient buildings, very old buildings. The history buff in me is going to be absolutely thrilled as we get to explore some of these and some of the small towns that, again, might be someplace I might want to live. Now, a lot of expats have picked Nimes as a place to park themselves, and I want to see what the excitement and what the buzz is about that as well. It's a little bit bigger of a town than I think that I'm interested in moving to, but I don't know. So it could very well be that that might be the perfect location. So it will be fun to go there and explore that to see what opportunities might lie ahead. After we visit that town, we will be heading back down into the coastal area. So we will be going through Montpellier, and I am sad that we won't be able to spend as much time as I would like to in this absolutely beautiful jewel of a town by the sea. In fact, we might be skirting the outsides of Montpellier to look at a lot of the little towns and villages or suburbs that are in that area, as that seems to be another really fantastic place for expats to move to, that is not just beautiful, but also has an incredible style of living, as well as a very, very affordable cost of living. So we'll see what that has to offer. And then we're going to be ending up that day in the final beach location, which is Béziers. After we have that last night in Béziers, we will be heading a little bit further south on the coast, but then we will be heading directly west into the Pyrenees. And that is the area that I am the most excited about, because that is the area where I spent most of my time when I was in France several years ago. And I just absolutely fell in love with the entire region. On days when we were not following the Tour de France, I basically picked up in my rent car and just cruised all over the mountains, all over these tiny little towns. My French was abysmal, but thank goodness when you're going into a small little market or boulangerie, you just need to be polite and you need to ask for a baguette and some fromage, and you're pretty much in a bottle of water, and you're pretty much good to go, right? No, I was not going to be drinking wine during the day, traveling in a rent car in tiny French towns in the mountains on winding roads. That just didn't seem like a good option at that time, and probably not at any time, right? So this last shot here is some of the photos that I took during that trip. One of them was a little bit further west, Campan, and that is the town that we stayed in for most of the time that we were following the Tour de France. And it was a fantastic home base to be able to explore bigger towns nearby, as well as the mountains themselves. And then on one of those days off from the tour, I drove all the way east to Tarascon-sur-Ariège, and I hope I'm not butchering that. And a little bit further south of there, there is a grotto of a prehistoric cave with drawings from humans from 40,000 years ago. And it was absolutely mind-blowing to be able to experience that. And if you have gone to one of the many different prehistoric grottos in France, then you know that even in the biggest heat of summer, you really need to pack a heavyweight jacket to go into the caves, because they are pretty chilly. And I didn't really realize that. I was fine, but it was a cold 2-hour trip in there. But I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I drove to that location on one of the more major highways because I needed to get there at a certain time, and I didn't want to monkey around with mountain highways since I had no idea where I was really going except just on the map. But on the way back, I knew that I had a lot of time, so I took the back smaller highways through the mountains and then ended up at this beautiful summit of a mountain. And I was headed in one direction. There were 2 cars actually headed in the opposite direction. We met up at the summit, and all 3 of us basically hung out there for the next hour or 2 because all of these lovely cows were basically hanging out, enjoying the sun, enjoying the grass, enjoying laying down in the middle of the road. I'm sure because the pavement was the perfect temperature for them to be able to get their nap on. And it was just so pleasant to take out that baguette and my cheese and my bottle of water and just drink in the fresh air, drink in the absolute phenomenal mountain views, watch the cows just, getting their happy on, greeting the other people that were up there. They spoke a little bit of some English, thank goodness, so we were able to converse a little bit, but they were doing the exact same thing, just basically parking it off to the side and having an impromptu picnic. And then when the cows decided it was time to move off to a better field, we all got in our cars and we headed in our respective directions. And it was one of the best days I think I've ever had on a vacation in my life. So I'm really looking forward to going back to this part of France. And that's it for this video, folks. The next video will be one last hurrah for the French coast, and then we'll be heading into the Pyrenees and the areas to the southwest, even into Aquitaine, into Pau. I think that's the end of the next video. I've already done most of the legwork for that, but I can't remember offhand. But you'll see it soon enough, as soon as I finish doing all the backstory stuff to get that video up and ready to go. So if it's day where you are, bonjour. If it's evening, bonsoir. and I hope you're having a fantastic time. If you do appreciate these videos, please like and subscribe, and especially if you have any suggestions for restaurants or attractions or fun things to do or out of the way things to do that just really struck you in any of the areas that I am traveling through, please put them in the comments or send me an email and let me know. I would absolutely love it because I think that personal recommendations are so much more fun. They have a little bit more meaning to them than just going to see a place, quote unquote, that everybody tells you that you should go to. But I would love to get your thoughts and get your suggestions. So again, au revoir, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.